This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a website or domain, go to squarespace.com. Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. Are you struggling in figuring out what lenses to get? What focal length? And a big one, zoom lens or prime lens? In this video, I'll go through all the variables involved in deciding between prime lenses and zoom lenses, advantages and disadvantages, and differences between them you may not even have thought of. If you stay till the end, I'll give you a bonus tip, a quick technique to find out the perfect focal length of prime lens to get. It's already chosen for you and sitting on your computer. My name is Simon D'Entremont and I'm a professional nature and wildlife photographer living in Eastern Canada. I make weekly videos giving you photo tips or taking you behind the scenes for nature photography. Subscribe if you want to see more. Okay, let's start off by explaining what prime and zoom lenses are in the first place. This gets muddled up a bit with the often used expression that long focal length lenses are zoom lenses. Like in the expression, this lens has a lot of zoom. This is actually a telephoto lens, not a zoom. A zoom lens is one where the focal length can be changed and adjusted on the fly, changing the focal length and hence the implied magnification of the lens. Like this lens, which can go from 24mm to 70mm, changing the size of the subject in the frame as you adjust it. The range of focal lengths is usually printed on the lens barrel. A prime lens is a lens which has one fixed focal length. It's not adjustable, and the only way to change the size of the subject is to what we call zoom with your feet. The focal length of the lens, again, is printed on the barrel. Now let's talk about the differences between them, so you can better decide which one is best for you. The first difference is one that many people actually get wrong. Most people think that adjusting a zoom lens is the same as moving closer and farther with a prime lens to get the subject the size you want in the frame. It's not. Let's look at this experiment. If I have these two owls set up in the frame such that the closer one is twice the height as the one in the back. If I want to make the one in the front fill a larger part of the photo, I can zoom with a zoom lens, but the ratio of the closer one to the farther one stays the same. But if I want to make the size of the subject larger in the frame with a prime lens, I need to get closer. But note that this new image isn't the same as zooming with a prime lens. The ratio of the size of the subject and the second owl has changed. It's no longer twice the height, but rather more. So zooming with your feet with a prime lens changes the perspective of the photo, giving you interesting new opportunities, whereas a zoom lens simply changes the magnification. One is not better than the other, just different. That being said, a photographer may want this perspective change ability as part of their visual art and the toolkit of variables they may want to access in order to make unique photos. Second, and somewhat obviously, prime lenses and zoom lenses differ in their flexibility of use. One of the main advantages of a zoom lens is the ability to adjust the focal length to match what you require for a certain photo. This may be filling the frame for your subject by zooming in or zooming out to get some extra features in the background. Prime lenses suffer the disadvantage of not having that flexibility. Sometimes you're too close and end up with taking a photo that crowds the subject too closely. Or you wish you'd get the subject smaller in the frame, but can't get any farther. In professional settings, this is often mitigated by having to change lenses between situations, picking the right lens for the shot on a case-by-case or scenario-by-scenario situation. In fast-moving situations, pros will often have two or more cameras with separate focal lengths attached to be able to switch more quickly and avoiding lens changes. Clearly, this adds complexity to the shooting situation. So zooms may be a great choice where the photo situation is constantly changing or unpredictable, or where the size or proximity of the subject is always moving. Also, in situations where you can't get closer, wildlife, sports from the sidelines, where you need to stay back from your subject, or shooting from behind a barrier. Now, why would someone carry two cameras with separate prime lenses rather than one camera with a zoom, like I mentioned earlier? Well, let's get into the reasons someone may want a prime lens as their preferred lens, and a way of differentiating them from zooms. One reason that primes may be preferred is that primes often have more sharpness and other image quality benefits like contrast. Why is this? Well, optical engineers who design lenses need to have zoom lenses perform well at varying focal lengths, all of which, in a perfect world, might require different designs. But they all have to fit into one design, hence a compromise design. Prime lenses are often sharper than zoom lenses, not because they're better, but because they have an easier job. They're designed to work well in one specific situation, and everything can be optimized for that one scenario, that one focal length, with no compromises. A zoom lens is designed to be good everywhere. A prime lens is designed to be excellent somewhere. Now, are all primes sharper than zooms? No, but at the same price point, this is often the case. Certain primes are also praised for having a specific look, either the bokeh, contrast, or other features making the images look more unique. Zoom lenses are often seen as looking like every other zoom, a more generic look. Now note that when stopped down to smaller apertures like f8 or f11, the sharpness difference is much less. So if you shoot a genre that shoots at f8 all day, like landscapes, a zoom may be just as good. I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. I built my own website using Squarespace and it was really easy. A website is just a great way to have a professional place online where you can show off your work, your service, or your personal brand. Social media are often showing you or your work in short clips or thumbnail photos, and sometimes makes it difficult to monetize as they may not want links to external sites. A website is a permanent home for you and your work, presented in galleries or on pages designed by you that show them off at their best. There are lots of useful templates, including ones for specific genres like photography, for example. Or if you're daring and artistic, you can go outside the templates using the new AI feature called Squarespace Blueprint to help you personally curate your own build. It's also a great way to monetize your work by setting up an online store so you can take payments by credit card or PayPal from all over the world using Squarespace Payments. And now with a new added feature of buy now and pay later with ClearPay and Afterpay. Go to squarespace.com to sign up for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Simon for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Another reason that someone might want a prime over a zoom is the availability of wider apertures, what we call faster lenses. In a similar way that I described earlier that zooms have optical sacrifices where primes are built for a single purpose, fast apertures have a similar situation. Primes can be built with large maximum apertures like f1.8 or 1.4, where zooms are very difficult to build with such large apertures. The size of the front element needed and design considerations like weight and cost are prohibitive. As such, most fast zooms are f2.8 at the widest, with a few premium examples at f2, for example, where primes at f1.4 or 1.2 are possible at short focal lengths. For long focal lengths like wildlife and sports, some zooms are f6.3 or 7.1 at the long end, where a prime like my 600mm lens is a faster f4. Now, why would fast apertures be important enough to put up with the limitations in flexibility that primes have? One reason is that these fast primes have a really thin depth of field. This blurs the background and gives a look to photos that many people really like. Portrait or wedding photographers like this look, for example, as well as sports and wildlife photographers. Secondly, fast apertures let in lots of light. For those who take photos in poor light or indoors, this is a great asset, gathering more light and improving image quality. Wildlife in pre-dawn, wedding photographers in dark churches, dark music concerts, and indoor venues like poorly lit gyms are great examples. Are there genres where this is less valuable? Sure there is. If you're shooting at f8 all the time, like in landscapes or maybe street photography, the fast apertures might be wasted. Now, something else that you need to consider when deciding on zooms versus primes is the cost, and not just the cost of one lens. You see, let's say you want to get into automotive photography, and you think that 25mm, 50mm, and 100mm are the most common focal lengths you'll be shooting. You can buy 3 primes or one 24-105 zoom. Now, this one is all over the map with few consistent rules, but in some designs, a prime lens can be smaller than a zoom. Now, this big 600mm prime is certainly way bigger than a 100-400 zoom, but this 35mm f1.8 prime is small compared to my 14-35 f4 zoom. For genres where you don't want to stand out, or just stuff a small camera and a lens in your pocket, a prime may be just what you want. For travel and street photography, for example, where you might not want to be seen with a big lens in someone's face. So what does this mean for you? How do you choose? The main decision required by most is, does the benefits of the unique look and attribute like fast aperture and sharpness of the prime lens, plus the need to buy more than one prime, outweigh the flexibility, all-in-one capability of a zoom? The answer to this will depend on your style and your genre. Like I hinted earlier, landscape photographers who shoot a lot at f8 or f11 won't get many of the prime benefits, and like the lower weight of one zoom versus 3 primes for hiking around. As such, zooms are very common here, like this wide 14 to 35 millimeter. Or if you do get a 70 to 200 to photograph distant landscapes, the f4 version is often preferred over the f2.8 version, as it's cheaper, smaller, lighter, and just as good at f8. Portrait photographers often like thin depths of field, so fast primes are often coveted here. The 85mm f1.8 or 50mm f1.2 or 1.4 are desired lenses. But if you're shooting a wedding, you'll need 2 bodies to keep running and gunning. While fast super telephoto primes like 400mm f2.8 and 600mm f4 are coveted for wildlife and sports for their sharpness and thin depths of field, for most people, a more flexible 100 to 500 or 180 to 600 is a better choice, especially given the cost difference. And for safari in Africa, for example, when an elephant or giraffe gets close or you want to get a larger scene, the flexibility of a zoom is great. For street and travel, it can go either way. Many people like a fixed prime for small size and the ability to move around for the perspective change that they want. For others, a smaller zoom is so flexible that you can avoid a camera bag and have one lens as a do-it-all for the whole day. Now, in making a decision, it may be a quantity versus quality decision. For example, on a day's walk while visiting a new city, a zoom lens may get you 100 photos and the prime only 25, but you may like the look of the 25 more. So which is more important to you, quality or quantity? That's your call. Now, while it's true that many advanced photographers willing to spend more on their hobby or profession often graduate over time to primes for their unique look and attributes, many will covet the flexibility of zooms forever. Now, if many pros use primes, does that mean that a newer photographer should just jump to the end, skip the beginner stage, and go straight to primes like them? Flat no. And here's the problem, leading to my bonus tip. Without the experience of having done a lot of photography and developed a style and a technique, you don't know what prime focal length to get. If you're a portrait photographer, should you get a 35, 50, 85, or 135 millimeter? Without experience and the development of a preferred style, how would you know? Here's my advice. Start with a zoom. Use this to explore the focal lengths available to you. Now, after you know what the focal length you use the most is, then buy a prime at that focal length. And how do you know that? If you're a Lightroom Classic user, it's easy. In library mode, select your catalog, then hit grid view, then in filters choose exposure info. Then under the focal length area, see which focal length you actually use the most in real life. That will help you decide what prime to buy. By the way, buying a slightly shorter focal length than you think you'll need with a slightly wider field of view will give you more flexibility because you can always crop in a little bit in your final photo, but you can't do it the other way around. Now, if you do want to start experimenting with your first prime right away, which is okay, the 50mm f1.8, often called the nifty 50 on a full frame, or 35mm f1.8 on a crop sensor, is a great place to start. It's pretty close to the field of view of human vision, is quite fast, reasonably priced in most brands. A great place to start. Sign up on my email list and download my guide for shooting backlit for free. And if this video is deserving, please give it a like so YouTube will show it to even more photographers looking to make the right lens choices. If you want to learn more about lenses, see my comprehensive overview here. And I hope you can use these tips soon to make your own lens decisions and come home with your own unique and amazing photos. I know you can do it.